Robert Craig, sometimes known as Old Man Bob. Just an old man reading from his Bible. I'm the old man. This is the Bible right here I use, the Holy Bible, King James Version. And we've been going through the Gospel of Luke, and we've come to that part where he calls his disciples. We're going to see some differences in the earthly ministry of Christ and the ministry that he has designed for us, the Gentile world, under the ministry of Paul's gospel that he gave him by revelation. So we're looking at, in order to see this rightly divided, we're seeing this for what it is. It's doctrine for Israel in the kingdom, basically the gospel of the kingdom doctrine. Chapter 6, verse 1, let's get right into it. And it came to pass on the second Sabbath after the first, that he went through the cornfields, and his disciples plucked the ears of corn, rubbing them in their hands. And certain of the Pharisees said unto them, Why do ye that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath days? See, this was viewed as, technically it was labor. They weren't just simply feeding themselves, they were reaping grain. So that was against the rules, don't you see? Verse 3, and Jesus answering them said, Have ye not read so much as this, what David did when himself was an hungered, they which were with him? How he went into the house of God, and did take and eat the showbread. He gave also to them that were with him, which it is not lawful to eat, but for the priests alone. And he said unto them that the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. And it came to pass on another Sabbath that he entered into the synagogue and taught, and there was a man whose right hand was withered. And the scribes and Pharisees watched him, whether he would heal on the Sabbath day, that they might find an accusation against him. But he knew their thoughts, and said to the man which had the withered hand, Rise up and stand forth in the midst. And he arose and stood forth. Then said Jesus unto them, I will ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath days to do good or to do evil? To save life or to destroy it? And looking round about upon them all, he said unto the man, Stretch forth thy hand. And he did so. And his hand was restored whole as the other. And they were filled with madness, and communed one with another what they might do to Jesus. Now here we see the choosing of the 12. Verse 12, and it came to pass in those days that he went out into a mountain to pray, and continued all night in prayer to God. And when it was day, he called unto him his disciples, and of them, see, he had many disciples, of them chose he 12, whom also he named apostles. Simon, whom he also named Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew and Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon called Zelotes, and Judas, the brother of James, and Judas Iscariot, which also was the traitor. I think we'll find that the first Judas mentioned here, sometimes called Judas, not Iscariot. Um, he and James are brothers of the Lord, and Judas, being an apostle, writes the book of Jude. Verse 17, and he came down with them and stood in the plain in the company of his disciples, and a great multitude of people out of all Judea and Jerusalem, and from the seacoast of Tyre and Sidon, which came to hear him and to be healed of their diseases, they that were vexed with unclean spirits, and they were healed. And the whole multitude sought to touch him, for there went virtue out of him, and healed them all. We've seen before the woman who touched the hem of his garment, and he sensed that virtue had gone out of him, like a discharge. Some of his virtue of the Spirit had been tapped into and drained away. Verse 20, and he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, Blessed be ye poor, for yours is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled. So you see this element of the way it is at present time, as he stands there speaking, and in a time to come. And by the way, this whole thing about virtue going out of Jesus gives us just a little bit of glimpse of the dynamics of the working of the Spirit in this gift of healing. Okay, let's see, verse 21. Let's see, where was I? Verse 21, Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled. Blessed are ye that weep now, for ye shall laugh. So this is a contrast between the way it was then and the way it would be later. How much later, undisclosed at this point. I think we're going to find it has something to do with the kingdom age, because that's what he was preaching, the gospel of the kingdom. And from their viewpoint, the kingdom was right around the corner. Verse 22, Blessed are ye when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice ye in that day, and leap for joy, for behold, your reward is great in heaven. For in like manner did their fathers unto the prophets. But woe unto you that are rich, for ye have received your consolation. What he's saying there is, if you're rich now, don't look to be made. You know, you've got what you're going to get. You've got your reward already. Verse 25, woe unto you that are full, for ye shall hunger. Woe unto you that laugh now, for ye shall mourn and weep. Woe unto you when all men shall speak well of you, for so did their fathers to the false prophets. Now this is in a time when they could look back on the history and see a string of prophets that were sent to them, and there even were a few prophets in this day that were on the timeline at this point. That is to say, at the beginning of Jesus' earthly ministry. But he mentions that in the past there had been false prophets. There's a way that you can tell if a prophet is a false prophet today. If he says he's a prophet, he's a false prophet. That's the only kind of prophet there is in this present day and age. Likewise with apostles, self-professed apostles. Verse 27, but I say unto you which hear, love your enemies, do good to them which hate you, bless them that curse you, and pray for them which despitefully use you. And unto him that smiteth thee on the one cheek, offer also the other. That's where we get to say, turn the other cheek. And him that taketh away thy cloak, forbid not to take thy coat also. That's going pretty far. It's someone has taken away this person's overcoat, and he goes ahead and offers up his other coat, the one underneath. Verse 30, give to every man that asketh of thee, and of him that taketh away thy goods, asketh them not again. I believe he's looking forward into that 7-year period when all their needs will be provided. If somebody takes one of their coats or their garments, they don't have to worry. All their needs will be provided during that 7-year period. Verse 31, and as you would that men should do to you, and we're speaking of believers, of course, and as you would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise. But if ye love them which love you, what thank have ye? For sinners also love those that love them. In other words, he's saying, don't just be a typical moral person. Go above and beyond. Verse 33, and if ye do good to them which do good to you, what thank have ye? For sinners also do the same. In other words, you have a mutual club where the people do good to each other, and he says you're not doing any more than what any worldly person would do. Don't be looking for praise for just doing what's right. Verse 34, and if you lend to them of whom you hope to receive, what thank have ye? For sinners also lend to sinners to receive as much again. Notice that there's no usury here, no interest charged in these examples. That was the thing forbidden in their culture. But love your enemies and do good and lend, hoping for nothing again. Does that sound like being charitable? It's kind of above and beyond what most people would say was reasonable. And your reward, continuing on, and your reward shall be great, and ye shall be the children of the highest, for he is kind unto the unthankful and to the evil. Be ye therefore merciful, as your Father also is merciful. And I see the time is running up here. So I think what we're going to do is make that a stopping point and continue on in the next reading. For now, I'll just say, may the Lord bless this reading of His Holy Scripture. And I hope you'll join me as we continue on through this Gospel of Luke. This is doctrine for the little flock in the kingdom age. But we should know these Gospels like the back of our hand, realizing that it's not our doctrine. All Scripture is for doctrine, reproof, and correction, but it's oftentimes somebody else's doctrine. Well, I hope to see you next time.